Welcome to American Blacksmith. Today we're going to be designing and forging a bench for our local heritage museum. This is how I go about designing a bench. I've got a piece of black walnut that has been air dried for over 35 years, and my parameters at the museum are I have about 5 feet to work with, and I've got about a little over 4 foot here because I'm going to cut this piece. I decided to cut it here and then back here, and the legs, I'll show you the materials we're going to be using to forge the legs. Now this is an exterior bench, so it's going to have to be secured to the concrete with one-way screws. So this plate will end up going on the concrete itself, and then we'll mount the legs to it. So I decided to forge some 1.5-inch square tubing, and so the legs will be attached like this. We're going to add a 1.5-inch by 1/4 collar. It's been forged. I'm going to go over all that next. And then we have Tucker. Okay, I've got some variations of twists out of tubing. This one here is different. It's done on 4 sides. This is done on 2 sides. Here's one out of 1 inch. And it's just slightly different, each one of these. Either length of the twist or the amount, the gap. Longer, not twisted as much, leaves these open. So this one I've chosen for this nice evenness. I'll go with this twist. I'm going to show how to lay out the piece prior to forging and twisting. Here's a little cute one. Okay, I'm going to show you some tooling that we're going to use and some variations on our texturing die, because our bottom plate, we're going to put a wood-like texture on this plate, and I'm going to do it with this handheld die. One of the other guys in the shop made this for a particular project, and I haven't gotten to ever try it, so I'm going to use it for this bottom plate. I'm used to using a different set of dies that put a more detailed type of impression on the metal. This die is set up for the top of the power hammer. Top die, like so. This die would be on the bottom, but I didn't want to use up another die, so we made a saddle for the bottom of the die, and we can just place it like this. Then the top die will be hammering like this. So we'll do that in a moment. Right. Here's a spring swage for texturing wood grain, and this one has the big hardy for on the power hammer, or you can put it in a swage block. This is a spring swage die for making our collaring material, which will go at the foot of the leg, and we're going to demonstrate how to forge 1-inch flat material. Next is the layout and the measuring of the forging of the legs. So I've got a piece of 1.5-inch tubing here. And the advantage of using tubings is obviously it's lighter weight, but also they've got this nice radius on the tubing. So it's a very clean look. on most of the solid material, we have to forge or chamfer the edges to get this nice round edge. So I'm going to go ahead and mark center on this piece, and that will be the center of the twist. And then I make up what I call a story stick, or it could be called a storyboard. And then that way I can measure this thing when it's hot. And so I want my twist right in this area here. So I'll go ahead and take these pieces in the forging area, fire up the forges, and then I'll have this stick to constantly to refer to. Okay, today I'm going to be using a pair of flat tongs, but instead of the traditional plain flat tongs, I'm going to be using a pair of farrier tongs, which have these cups or spoon-like impressions in the tong jaws themselves, and that provides a better grip opposed to a pair of flat tongs that could rock material anywhere in the middle. And the same with the flat stock I'm going to be forging. I'm just going to be striking it opposed to hitting it on the end or any of that. So these will provide a good grip. Numbers.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. So often before I start up and forge, I'll use the initial warm-up heat to anneal something, a piece of tool steel in this case, that I want to turn into a prospecting pick. Okay, that old hammerhead that I've got in the forge that I'm annealing, which means to soften the material, being that it's been already hardened for the previous tool, I need to go ahead and give it the chance to what they call normalize, and I get it up to a heat in the 1500 to 1600 range. And to test it, when the high carbon steel goes non-magnetic, then I know it's the right temperature. If this magnet sticks, then I know it's not hot enough. So once I get it to this non-magnetic stage, I'm going to take it out and put it in ash, or I usually use vermiculite. But we're just going to go ahead and use the old ash bucket underneath the coal forge and let it anneal overnight and get it to normalize and let those molecules reorganize themselves slowly. Ready? So here we've got the magnet isn't sticking. It's just starting to stick there. About this tubing is that it'll tend to have a seam on the one side, and I don't want to be indenting it, forging it on this side. The seam might split open, so I want to make sure that I choose the right two sides. Go ahead and heat. Okay, so you're going to want to be careful about quenching any of this type of tubing, because the steam will tend to shoot out. So if I got this heat overheated and that steam's coming right on out of there, and you don't want to hit somebody else with it. You just want to take it slow. I like using this. Alright, this is the hammer I'm going to use to be forging the indentation in the tubing. But I wanted to make it clear that normally you do not want to be forging two striking hardened surfaces together, because you can get a shattered tool. And an possible injury. But here, I consider this a dead hammer blow because this tubing is soft, so this will crush, and this is a lead hammer opposed to a hardened striking surface. For twisting, we're going to use the big honking wrench. Instead of using a torch, oxyacetylene or a plasma torch to cut these edges and then have to grind them, I'm just simply going to munch them off. the collaring material that we just forged out on the hammer with the spring held die. And that'll go like that. And the next assembly forging session, we will form the collars around the base, like so. Okay, next time on American Blacksmith, we're going to go ahead and do the assembly of the Heritage Museum bench. So we'll see you then.